Okay, let's start now. So, medyo madali, actually madali lang talaga yung lesson today. Like, refresher lang ng geometry basics. Okay, so again, a point tells us an exact location. Pero wala siyang dimension. And it is usually represented by a dot. By convention, ang pangalan niya usually is a number or a capital letter. Like in this example, we have point A and point 1 here. Okay? So, ano naman ang tawag natin sa ganito? Kapag meron tayong dalawang arrow, it means nag-extend itong line na to indefinitely to this side and then to this side. Okay? So, this is a line. And a line extends indefinitely in two opposite directions. And itong line natin, by convention or ang kanyang pagkakasulat natin would be line A1 o kaya A1 and then meron itong symbol na to sa taas, which denotes na ang A1 natin is a line. Okay? Another way to denote a line is using this one, a small letter, o kaya minsan numbers. So actually, may iba-ibang way to do it. Pero pag makakita kayo ng ganito, this is also considered yung pangalan ng line. We call this line M, for example. So ang ating line is made up of infinite number of points. Katulad nito, along the line, marami kang points dyan. And again, infinite number of points. So, ang mga points na nakikita nyo ngayon are collinear points. Ibig sabihin, nasa iisang line silang lahat. So, what if naman hindi siya nag-extend in either direction? So, meron kang definite na endpoints. Ang endpoints mo would be itong point A, and itong point 1. So, denoted naman ito with this one. Parang pareho lang kanina with line, except this time, yung symbol mo is a segment instead of a line. So, for example, meron kang point B along segment A1. Meron ka ditong dalawang line segments now. We have AB and then B1. Okay, so pwede ka magkaroon ng line segment AB, line segment B1, and another one would be line segment A1. Okay, so paano naman kapag nag-extend ka on one side, like this one? Meron kang tinatawag natin na ray. So, a ray extends indefinitely in one direction. At meron siyang isang endpoint lang. Ang tawag natin sa endpoint na to is yung initial point. In this case, ang initial point mo is A. Okay, so you can denote yung ray na to by saying ray A1, okay, the initial point, and then any point on the ray. Okay, so ray A1 or pwede mo rin siyang tawagin na ray AB. So take note guys na yung ray A1 and ray AB refers to the same na ray. Kasi ito yung initial point nila, A, and then any other point along the ray. So what if naman I'll consider an initial point B? Meron tayong ray B1. Okay? So take note guys na ang ray B1 mo is different from ray A1 and ray AB. Okay? Hindi sila nagre-refer sa the same na ray. So how about if meron tayong dalawang rays and then meron silang common initial point? That would be our angle. So an angle is the two different rays that have the same initial point. And ang tawag natin sa common initial point nila is the vertex. Okay? And then yung dalawang ray mo, yun yung nag-act as your sides. Okay, so maraming ways para pangalanan natin itong angle na to. One would be yung side, vertex, side. Okay, so ang side, any point sa side, which is C, then the vertex A, and then any point sa other ray, which is yung B. So we have angle CAB. Okay, pwede rin natin siyang pangalanan na BAC. As long as yung nasa gitnang letter would be the vertex. So another name for this is yung kung ano man yung vertex mo. So we will call this angle A. Okay, pero usually, ito yung ginagamit lalo na kapag marami kang lines, marami kang rays involved. So take note na ito yung mga different ways to name this specific angle. We have angle A, pwede mo rin siyang tawaging angle CAB, and pwede mo rin siyang tawaging BAC. So here, yung order ng letters mo nagmamatter. Kasi yung mga angles A, B, C, or CBA is a different set of angles. So, hindi ito pareho sa mga nasa taas. We have adjacent angles kapag meron kang, for example here, DAC and CAB, pag meron kang dalawang angles na may common vertex and common ray. So, adjacent, ibig sabihin lang, magkatabi. So, meron silang common na vertex, which is this one, and common na ray, which is the ray AC. Okay, how about measure of an angle? So, there are, meron dalawa tayong units of measurement pagdating sa angles natin. But first, let me emphasize na ang angles measured in clockwise direction would be yung positive angles natin by convention, okay? So, sa mga lessons natin today, ganito yung pagkaka-measure natin. Counter-clockwise, okay? So, ang first unit of measure natin pagdating sa angles natin is yung degree. By definition, ang degree is 1 out of 360 of units of a full rotation ng isang plane circle. So, ibig sabihin lang nun, sa isang buong circle natin or sa isang full rotation, meron tayong 360 degrees. Okay, another one is yung radian. Ang radians natin is just the ratio of the arc length to the radius. So, actually, kunwari, for example, your circumference, okay, sa isang buong circle, meron tayong 2 pi, right? 2 pi na radians. So, circumference is equal to 2 pi r. If ililipat niyo yung 2 pi on one side, magkakaroon tayo ng 2 pi is equal to c, or circumference, over the radius. So, as you can see, it's the ratio of the arc length to the radius. Okay, so, ito lang kailangan yung alalahanin for conversions that 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. Okay, so ang ating conversion factors, if we have degrees to radians, that would be pi rad over 180 degrees. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? Kapag given ka ng degrees and gusto mo siyang i-convert to radians, i-multiply mo lang siya by this conversion factor. Kapag gusto mo naman ng radians to degrees, i-multiply mo lang siya by this conversion factor. For example, if meron kang 180 degrees, okay, since degrees yung gusto mong mawala, kasi gusto mo degrees to radians, what you're gonna do is, you're going to multiply this by, nasaan yung degrees dapat? Nasa baba, okay? So, 180 degrees, dito yung pi rad, okay? So, magka-cancel yung unit of measure natin na degrees. 180 divided by 180, that's equal to 1. So, ibig sabihin, 180 degrees is just equal to pi rad. Okay? How about 45 degrees? If gusto natin siya i-convert to rad, again, we will just multiply it by this conversion factor. So guys, kung nalilito kung ano yung nasa taas or nasa baba, tandaan nyo lang, dapat makakancel nyo yung unit of measure para maiwan ka with the unit of measure na gusto mo. So here, cancel yung degrees, you will have 45 over 180. That's equal to 4. Okay, so meron kang pi over 4 rad. So 45 degrees is equal to pi over 4 rad. Paano naman kapag gusto mo ng rad, radians to degrees? So let's say given tayo ng 2 pi over 3. Okay, so minsan guys, hindi na nakasulat yung rad. Nakasulat lang 2 pi over 3. So paano pag gusto natin siyang i-convert to degrees? We will multiply it to, okay, so gusto natin mawala yung rad. So nasa baba yun. Ang conversion factor natin is 180 degrees and pi rad. So ito lang yung kailangan yung alalahanin parate. That you have 180 degrees is equal to pi. Okay? So here, 180, rad, magka-cancel yung units. Pi, magka-cancel. You have 2/3 times 180. 180 divided by 3, that's equal to 60. 60 times 2, that's equal to 120 degrees. So, 2/3 pi is equal to 120 degrees. So, tatandaan nyo lang, kapag na-confuse kayo, dapat nagme-make sense siya. So, for example, if meron kang pi, 3/4 pi, and gusto mo siyang i-convert 2 degrees, tapos kunwari nagkamali ka, ganito na sulat mo, okay, mapapansin nyo naman na hindi nagme-make sense kasi yung signs mo magiging rad squared over degrees. Okay, so makikita mo pa rin naman kung tama or mali yung ginagawa mo kasi your goal is mawala yung units na ayaw mo makita. So here, we have our 0 degree or 0 rad. If we have an angle na nandito naman, so 90 degrees counterclockwise, we have 90 degrees and pi over 2 or 1/2 pi rad. So again, another notation, pag nakakita kayo ng ganito, it means na meron kang 90 degrees or right angle between your two rays. Tawag natin dito is a right angle. So what if naman meron kang 180 degrees in rad? That's just pi rad. And ang tawag natin sa angle na to is straight angle. How about this one? So again guys, kung mapapansin nyo, nanggagaling tayo dito and then counterclockwise. So ito yung mini-measure na angle natin. So this is 270 degrees or 3/2 pi. And lastly, kapag nagkaroon naman tayo ng full rotation, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, we have 360 degrees or 2 pi rad. Okay, so we have our types of angles. Meron tayo ng acute, obtuse, and reflex angles. So I'm guessing familiar na kayo. Everything is in reference with the horizontal line. Okay? So sa horizontal line, nandun yung ating 0 degrees. And ang pag-measure natin is always counterclockwise. So an acute angle is any angle na between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So kapag meron kang 90.1 degree, that's already considered as obtuse. So basta dapat more than 0, less than 90 degrees. Okay, kapag equal naman to 90 degrees, ito yung tinatawag natin na right angle. Kapag naman greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees, meron tayong obtuse angle. And kapag equals 180 degrees, meron tayong straight angle. And lastly, kapag meron tayong more than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees, meron tayong reflex angle. So let's talk about midpoints and bisectors. A midpoint of a segment is any point that divides that segment into two congruent segments. So pag sinabi natin congruent, sa context ng geometry, pareho yung size and shape. Okay, so in this case, since segment yung pinag-uusapan, length ng segment. Kasi yun yung nagre-represent sa size niya. So if you have segment AB, ang point X would be a midpoint kapag ang segment AX is equal to segment XB, sorry. Okay, ano naman ang segment bisector? Ang segment bisector is any segment, ray, line, or plane that divides or bisect a segment into two congruent segments. So, ibig sabihin, ang segment bisector mo or simply your bisector passes through your midpoint. Okay, dadaan siya sa midpoint. So, pwede siyang, again, pwede siyang plane. So, plane M bisects AB at point X. Okay? Pag sinabing ganito, given na that your X is a midpoint of segment AB. Okay, so again, pwede rin na line siya. Line Z bisects AB at point X. So again, pag makabasa kayo ng ganito, given na rin that X is a midpoint of AB. Pero guys, take note na hindi siya necessarily midpoint ng line Z. Okay? So ano naman pag sinabing perpendicular bisector? Basically, the same lang yan sa segment bisector. It's just that yung angle formed mo is 90 degrees. Okay? So, kapag sinabi mong segment bisector, hindi necessarily segment siya ha. Ibig sabihin lang nun, yung binabisect mo is a segment. So, in the same case, kapag sinabi mo angle bisector, ang binabisect is an angle. Okay? So, an angle bisector is always just a ray. Any ray that divides or bisects an angle into two adjacent and congruent segments. Okay? So, meron kang adjacent angles dito na BAD and DAC. Okay? So, adjacent sila and at the same time, congruent. Sorry, congruent angles dapat dito instead of segment. So ray AD bisects angle BAC. So given na niyan that BAD is equal to the measure of DAC. Okay, so now let's talk about line relationships. First, meron tayong intersecting lines. So intersecting lines are lines that share a common point. Okay, isang point lang, which is also called the point of intersection. So here, if we have line K and line M, they intersect at point A. Okay? So take note guys that yung intersecting lines mo, kapag meron kang intersecting lines, ibig sabihin nun, there exists a plane na part yung line K and line M. Pero more on that later. Another one is perpendicular lines. Ang perpendicular lines mo are just intersecting lines. Okay? Pero dito, specific na yung intersection nila would be at a right angle. Okay? So they intersect at point A at 90 degrees. And we say that line M and line K are perpendicular or are perpendicular to each other. So ano naman yung parallel lines? So parallel lines are lines that never intersect. But take note, they should be in the same plane. Okay, two lines in the same plane that will never intersect. Okay, so another thing to note here na relative, kunwari to a line, ang angle na na-form nila are equal. Pero more on that on our next lesson. So parallel lines exist on the same plane and they never intersect. So bakit ina-emphasize na the same plane dapat? Kasi, okay, sorry. Mamaya na yan. Here we have lines 1 and 2 that are parallel to each other. So, ang notation natin, we have this one, 1. Tapos itong symbol natin for parallel, 1 is parallel to 2 or AB is parallel to CD. Okay? So again, gaya na sinabi ko kanina, bakit ina-emphasize na the same plane dapat? Kasi, ang tawag natin sa two lines that never intersect and at the same time, hindi sila on the same plane are skew lines. Okay? So they are never parallel and at the same time, they do not intersect. For example, this one. Okay? Never sila mag-intersect. Pero at the same time, hindi rin sila parallel lines. Kasi hindi sila, imposible na nasa the same plane sila. So kaya important na parallel lines can exist on at least one common plane. So lines 3 and 4 are skew lines. Now let's talk about planes. Planes are any flat surface with no thickness. Okay? So in essence, ang plane is just imaginary. Okay? Wala, in the real world, wala namang square. Okay? Kasi, kahit gaano pa kaliit yung thickness niyan, merong thickness yon. So, yung mga square, circle, basically yung polygons natin are just imaginary. So, they extend indefinitely in all directions. And, two-dimensional sila. Okay, so what determines a plane? Okay, so in order to define a plane, kailangan natin ng at least 3 non-collinear points. Kasi kung collinear sila, ibig sabihin lang nun, meron kang line. Okay? Hindi siya nagde-define ng isang plane. And we call this plane M and O. Okay? Another one is kapag meron tayong dalawang intersecting lines. So, kagaya na sinasabi ko kanina, yung intersecting lines natin should exist in one plane. Or there exists a plane na kayang i-include yung dalawang intersecting lines natin. Okay, so for example, here usually may pangalan na capital letter din ng ating plane and we will call this plane X. Lastly, pwede rin ang two parallel lines. Okay, and we will call this plane X then. Okay? So what are collinear and coplanar? So medyo nahuli yung part na to, dapat pala inuna ko. But when we say collinear, they lie on the same plane. Kapag coplanar, they lie on the same plane. Okay, kanina line, collinear, coplanar, plane. So, points that lie on the same line. Pwede ka ba magkaroon ng plane that are collinear? Hindi, it doesn't make sense. Okay? So, pagdating naman sa coplanar, pwedeng meron kang coplanar points, pwede rin namang meron kang coplanar lines. So, take note guys that all collinear points are coplanar. Pero hindi lahat ng coplanar points are collinear. Ay, sobrang ikli pala na ito. Okay, so ito yung mga next lesson natin. Pero I want to try mag-whiteboard ngayon. So, i-discuss na lang rin natin to supposedly for next topic pa. Pero since may time pa naman, let's discuss this. Okay, so yung next topic would be yung angle pairs. When you have angle pairs, well, basically, meron kang dalawang angles. And yung dalawang angles na yun, merong relationship. I think familiar naman kay lahat dito yung complementary and supplementary angles. Okay, kapag may complementary angles ka, ibig sabihin lang nun na yung sum ng dalawang angle mo is equal to 90 degrees. Kapag supplementary naman, yung sum mo is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so hindi necessarily na adjacent angles sila. Okay, so for example, if you have here 30 and 60, these two are complementary angles. So basically, i-check mo lang if their sum is equal to 90 or 180 to get if complementary angles sila or supplementary angles. And another angle pair would be yung ating tinatawag na vertical angles. So if you have two intersecting lines, ang vertical angles natin would be yung two angles opposite sa each other. And our vertical angles are also equal. Okay? So kapag nakakita kayo ng ganito, kunwari for example, this one and this one, pareho silang may lines, isang line, ibig sabihin, equal sila. At the same time, hindi lang ito yung vertical angle na makikita natin dito. We also have this pair of vertical angles. Okay? So, bakit dalawang lines dito? Kasi this denotes na silang dalawa naman yung equal. And then, ito namang dalawa yung equal. So, let's see, maglagay tayo ng lines dito, ay ng points. Okay, so if we have this, point A, B, C, D, and O, we can say na these two angles measure, so isa pa pala itong notation, minsan may letter M sa start, which just means measure of angle AOB is equal to the measure of angle DOC. Okay? How about here? Itong pair of vertical angles natin, we can also say that measure of angle BOC is equal to the measure of angle AOD. Okay? So careful guys, kasi minsan kunwari yung nakikita mo AOD, tapos meron pala sa choices na DOA. Pareho lang to sa DOA ha. And this one also pareho lang sa COB. Okay, so I guess alam naman to ng lahat and sana walang may nalilito sa ganito kasi pagdating sa geometry, paulit-ulit yung concept na to. That if you have vertical angles, those two angles are congruent or equal. Paulit-ulit na concept yan. Ano ba yung next na? Okay. Next would be yung linear pairs. Kapag sinabi naman nating linear pairs, meron kang two adjacent angles. Let's say we have a straight line here and a ray somewhere here. Two adjacent angles are linear pairs if they're non-common sides. So ito yung common side nila, di ba? Itong dalawang non-common side are opposite rays. Okay, so ito papunta doon, ito papunta doon. So ang ating linear pairs or linear pair, ang ating linear pair ay supplementary angles din. Pero anong pinagkaiba niya sa supplementary angles? Pag sinabi mo kasing supplementary angles, for example, here, if we have 30 and 150. 30 degrees and 150 degrees. Okay. So itong nasa taas, this is a linear pair of supplementary angles. So linear pair siya, at the same time, meron kang supplementary. Ito naman sa baba, meron kang supplementary angles. May spelling supplementary, right? Double P ba? Okay, double P daw. Okay, so dito meron kang supplementary angles, pero they are not necessarily a linear pair. Okay? Kasi wala naman silang common ray. Ito meron kang common ray. And common vertex. Okay, ito yung vertex niya, ito yung ray niya, magkaiba. Okay, so sana nakuha nyo naman yung difference when you say linear pair versus when you say supplementary angles or supplementary pair. Okay. Now let's talk about lines and angles and yung mga relationship nila. Dali lang lesson today, di ba? Review lang ng mga geom basics. Most probably kasi sa geom, maikli, konti lang naman kasi yung concepts ng geometry. It's just that sobrang endless possibilities of questions, endless possible combinations ng kung ano-anong angles and lines. Okay, so let's start with a transversal line. When you say transversal line, basically any line lang yon that intersects two or more lines. So for example, if you have these two lines, itong two lines. Okay, so guys, another symbol pala for parallel kapag may ganyan. Kita nyo ba? Dalawang, so notation lang din yan. So for example, if you have this, itong line AB is a transversal line kasi it intersects at least two lines. Okay? Itong line BC is also considered a transversal line because it intersects at least two lines. Okay? So what if we have something like this? Okay. Alin dito yung transversal line? That would be line 1. Okay, kasi ini-intersect niya yung line 2 and line 3. Okay, pero yung line 3, hindi siya transversal line. Yung 2 rin, hindi rin siya transversal line. Okay, how about here? Let's say we have line 1, line 2, and line AB. Line AB is a transversal line of 1 and 2. At the same time, yung 1, transversal siya ng line AB and 2 kasi ini-intersect niya yung 2 and yung AB dyan. Okay? So at the same time, ito ring 2, transversal line siya ng 1 and line AB. Okay? So basta ang transversal line, may at least 2 lines siya. So pwede ring 3 yung line na ini-intersect niya. Okay? Or infinite number of lines. So basta yun yung definition ng transversal line. Pero common to sa may parallel line ka and then nag-intersect yung transversal line. If you have two parallel lines, so guys, magsasalita lang ako hanggang matapos. Ay, huwag na lang pala natin pag-usapan kasi less than a minute.